We'll start with the broadcast section with no embargo, followed by an embargoed section for 10:30 p.m. tonight. No live tweeting during the broadcast section, please, and use the microphone provided. Paul.
Thanks. Hi, Ange. Ange, you've spoken about having some players back this last week and you got the 4-1 win against Newcastle as a result. How important and how well equipped is the squad at this moment in time to find a run of consistency into Christmas?
Yeah, look, it's still a challenge because, we've still got... I was thinking this morning, I had a look, it was still 8 out injured from our first team squad. All have contributed, apart maybe from Ash Phillips, who hasn't played a lot, but the rest have all contributed. So it's still a little bit of a challenge for us. It's not just the games it affects training, When we had all the guys fit at the start of the year, the level of our training was a lot higher. We could be a lot more intense with what we do. It's a little bit different now. So, but, it was good, like you said, to get back Pape and Richie last week, and that certainly helped us just to freshen up the team. And, hopefully between now and kind of the new year, although then we'll lose players for international commitments. So I guess for the foreseeable future anyway, it's kind of where we're going to be.
You've obviously had a perception of Heung Min's son before you came to the football club. Then you've got to work close up with him. Is there anything that you have noticed since you've started working with him that has maybe surprised you? And how will you cope? How will you plan for his loss in January along with Bissouma and Sarr?
Nothing's really surprised me about Sonny. As you said, I've known him for a long time. The quality he has as a player is pretty evident to anybody who's sort of been following the Premier League and world football. And, I had the advantage of already sort of having a glimpse into him as a person. And I guess the only new thing for him is that he's, taken over a sort of leadership role within the group here. And, again, He's taken to that really well. He's embraced the extra responsibility, both in and around sort of the culture and the environment here, but also, during games, when we've needed him to step up. So he'll look. All those 3 players will be a big loss for us, but it's kind of been the story of our season. We've had to cope without significant players so far, and as I said, that's kind of what we've been dealt with, and we'll just have to deal with it as we have.
The spotlight has been on Cristian Romero again this week following a tackle in the game just after his suspension. I just wondering, what have you said to him this week about that? Is it trying to strike a balance in his approach?
Yeah, to a certain extent. But, I think it's fair to say the spotlight will be on him for the rest of the year, because I just think, any challenge he does, whether it's, something that's pretty clear like the Chelsea game or last week, which I just thought was as much clumsy as anything else, will get highlighted. He knows that. He understands that. He's just got to, make the adjustments that he needs to do during the game. But, I don't think it's a subject for long chats. It's pretty evident, the impact he has on us when he's playing and when he's not. And, we much prefer to have him out there.
Thanks, Ange.
Hi, Ange. Just a quick one on team news. Have you got anyone else injured?
Yeah, the only one that's missed this week is Gio. He unfortunately got a bit of a niggle at training. I don't know exactly what it is, but he missed training today, so he's not available tomorrow. We're hopeful it's nothing too serious.
Some positive news this week, obviously Destiny Udogie signing a new long-term deal. He spoke, I think it was recently, about him learning this new role that he has here at the club. I mean, how important is he to the way that you want to play?
Really pleased with Destiny signing. Obviously, I've said before, this is kind of the first phase of us trying to build something, and there's the core of the group is sort of fairly young and new to the Premier League, and I think Destiny sort of committing to us as an endorsement for what he sees as a good place for him and his future. It's his first year in the Premier League. Like I said, he's adapting to a new role. He understands that. He's a willing sort of worker in trying to improve himself, but he's also made an impact, which is the big thing for us. So, like I said, great to have him commit to the club long term, and it's something that we kind of want to continue building on and sort of trying to keep a core of this group together for the coming years, hopefully to build something special.
He scored his first goal against Newcastle, first Spurs goal. Brennan Johnson hit the post, I think it was twice in that match. I interviewed him last week and he spoke a lot about how Heung Min Son has been really important to him settling into the way that he wants to play in that attack. He returns to Forest tomorrow for the first time since leaving. So what do you make rather of the way that he's developed within your attack?
Yeah, look, we're really pleased with the way Brennan's developing. Again, he came in really late. He's always wary when signings come in late in the piece. Because they have to get up to speed with the way we train, the way we play, and then he had a couple of little setbacks with little niggles. So he hasn't really had a good run at it. But the last few weeks, you can see he's starting to, I think, more than anything, feel at ease with himself with what we're trying to do, and especially in that front third, you need the players to kind of play with a little bit more freedom, yet at the same time he's taking in a lot of information. But I thought he was really good last week. As you said, he probably unlucky not to score, but his general game was really good. And I'm sure Sonny's helped him enormously, but I think you ask any player in the group, and I think they'd be pretty consistent in saying Sonny's been a big part of them sort of settling into what we're doing here.
Thanks, Ange.
Ali.
Hi, Ange. I was going to ask you about the other fullback, Pedro Porro, from the weekend. Obviously, he's a player that you inherited. He was on a loan that was going to be made permanent regardless anyway. I mean, at what point did you kind of identify, or actually, rather than someone I'm kind of stuck with, actually he's someone that fits perfectly what I want?
Yeah, he's a good footballer, and most coaches will tell you they want good footballers, and I didn't see anything there. I mean, I know, a lot of people have always said, especially with the way I got my fullbacks to play, but I haven't been at a club yet where the fullbacks haven't adapted, whether that was at Celtic, whether that was at Yokohama, since I've kind of been going down this road. Very few have struggled with it. I think it's just probably, the uniqueness of what they do that takes people aback a little bit. But in terms of the functionality of it, we try and make it as kind of simple for the guys in that position, and then the quality we have both with Pedro and Destiny, they take it to another level altogether, because it's one thing for me to say to them to sort of move into the areas we want them to move, but then they need to show that quality, and they got it in abundance. So I was never concerned about Pedro, I didn't feel him and Emerson, I thought we were well covered on the right-hand side. Excuse me.
After that ball to Richarlison the other day, obviously turned to you, big celebration with you. I mean, have you ever had a fullback that's been as much of a playmaker in that respect as he is?
Yeah. Most of the guys, most of the teams I'll play, whether it was at, Celtic, Greg Taylor was very influential. Anthony Rolson, Alistair Johnson. When I was at Yokohama, Ken Matsubara, I could go on. They were all that's part of the way we play.
Yeah. And on Bissouma,
they'd all hug me after a goal.
Just back to Bissouma and Sarr quickly. Do you know when their last game will be yet for you?
No, we'll still work through that. I'm kind of focusing, what's ahead between now and then, and we'll go through all those sort of permutations over the next couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Across to Charlie, please.
Just wonder, obviously you've got some experience from it at Celtic. How do you find this kind of really congested Christmas period? Not so much this weekend, but then afterwards you go into a run of a few games. Yeah, how do you find that? Yeah,
it's like I said, it's probably more normal than not. But again, that's dependent on sort of, where we're at from a squad perspective. It's that's where you get challenged because obviously, like I said, we've still got 8 guys out. At least 7 of them won't be back for at least a little while. Some won't be back. You're left with a fairly thin squad where you can't rotate players. You're going to have to ask. And the way we play is fairly physically and sort of mentally demanding. So, but our guys have been pretty good so far, showing resilience through that, and we'll have to keep doing that.
John, as well, are you conscious when, say, like Forest away, and obviously their manager's under a lot of pressure, it could get fractious? Is that something you think about, or do you try and sort of put that context out of your and the team's head?
Look, you take everything into context. I mean, I don't think it kind of makes a significant difference to us. It's fair to say any team that's going to play, Forest knows it's going to be a difficult game, irrespective of where they're at in terms of, their own sort of trajectory. So, even this year, I know, the results haven't been great, but at home, they're still very hard to beat, and all the games are pretty close. So it's going to be a tough game. So it doesn't really the fact that they're going through a rough trot, and no one was going through a worse trot than we were a week ago, and we ended up winning 4-1. So I think you kind of always balance those things off, because you can fall into a trap of thinking, they're not going well, or they're under pressure, or somehow they'll be less than at their best, and you can't assume that. You got to assume that they're going to be at their best, and at home they're going to be hard to beat.
Just ask you from me on Papsar, you mentioned the importance of getting some players back, and he feels like someone who makes a really big difference to how the team plays, and maybe how some of the other individuals in the team play as well. Is that fair?
No, because I think if Matters came in, he'd make a difference. I think if Mickey came in, he'd make a difference. But there's no doubt he's a top player, and he does add another dimension to our football. But like I said, at the start of the year when we were flying, it was we've got some pretty key contributors to that, both starting and coming off the bench who aren't available now. So, and getting Pape back, and even Richie now, fully fit Richie, which I don't think we saw at the start of the year. We need them. It helps us, because without them, it's a struggle.
Back to George, please.
Hi, Ange. It was obviously a really good attacking display last weekend, but maybe got overlooked how much of an improvement it was defensively as well. How pleased were you to sort of see the defence back to how it kind of was at the start of the season? Yeah, no, that was an important part. And again, it's not just about the back four or Vic. It's as a team, I thought we were a lot more sort of organised with our press, and particularly, we kind of knew Newcastle counter-attacking, and they got some real threats up front. If you're kind of not organised, I thought we were a lot better in that sense. Romero makes a big difference to that, but I thought Ben Davis was outstanding as well last week, and he's getting a run of games now, but we've always got to be mindful he's not a centre back. So again, we're kind of trying to manufacture something there, but he's grown into that role, and I thought it was important last week, because whilst I said after the game, obviously Newcastle going through a similar trot to us in terms of lack of personnel. When you looked at their sort of front half of the team, they were still a big threat, and we had to be really disciplined, and I thought we showed that. Apart from sort of the goal, which got a bit sloppy towards the end, the rest of the game, I thought we were pretty good. I'm guessing Mickey's still quite a few weeks away, so it could be Cristian and Ben for the foreseeable future, sort of no injuries, touch wood. Yeah. How comfortable are you with them two as a centre-back partnership? And I guess there was probably a point at the start of the season where that could have been a starting team if Mickey hadn't joined when he did.
Yeah, to a certain extent. But I mean, at the same time, like I said, Ben's sort of still adapting to it, and he's done remarkably well. Centre back is still a position where it's a fairly, especially in our structure, it's one of the few positions where you need guys with outstanding attributes in there, and we've been very fortunate that he's able to fill in for us there, and he's really good at taking in information. He really understands the game. He's not just his own role, but how we want to play, and I think that's helped him. And as I said, having Romero next to him is, I think, helps in that sense. And Vic, because Vic's kind of taken a bit of a leadership role back there as well. But, I mean, ultimately we still need to sign another centre-back, because at the moment we're kind of a little bit on tenterhooks that, if something happens again, then we're short, and we're already short.
And just with Nottingham Forest, obviously any talk about Forest kind of sparks memories of Brian Clough. Fair to assume you would have watched a fair amount of his team in sort of late 70s, early 80s, and as a character, obviously hugely a huge character. How much of an influence was he kind of when you was growing up watching football? Well,
not a direct one, but he's one of these managers who have made an indelible impact on the game. When you think about Nottingham Forest, winning the European Cup, I mean, it's quite an achievement. I mean, English football at the time was, fairly dominant through Europe, but still a remarkable achievement. And people like Brian Clough, have this unique place in our game where their impact is undeniable and stays forever for a number of reasons.
We'll finish just with one from James, please.
Hi, Ange. The Champions League group stage obviously came to a head this week. I just wondered if you watched any of those matches and how much, if at all, does not being part of it kind of drive you on to try and get Tottenham into the top four?
What do you reckon, mate? Do you reckon I would have just, let's see what's on telly tonight? Champions League? I might have a look at that.
Game Friday.
Yeah, no, I do follow the football a fair bit. No, I watched it all, and it's I guess European football in general. You kind of, it's where you want to be. You want to be involved in those games. You want your football club involved because not just because of it's European football, but the unique challenges it brings because you play in different countries, different conditions, different styles of football. All those kind of things you enjoy. That aspect of it. So, it's definitely something this football club should be a part of, absolutely. And I think not being part of it this year has hurt us because I think it gives you a chance to develop your squad even quicker with the experiences they have and the ability to kind of, give more game time to your squad. So I think it's hurt us this year, but hopefully we're back in it next year and making an impact.
Does it make January harder as well? Because obviously it's not something you can offer for the second half of the season.
Yeah, to a certain extent. But like I said, the way we are squad-wise at the moment, it's probably, from that perspective, a bit of a blessing for us because, as I said, we've got significant injuries listed at the moment. We're going to lose 3 players to international football. So, we're going to have to work really hard to sort of get through that period, with our focus on trying to get back to European football.
Okay, we'll end the broadcast section there. We'll move on to the embargoed section.